the subculture of film is just one big melting pot. You got the people that want to make serious movies. You got the people that want to make comedies and dramas. Every now and then, somehow on some chat room, we're all together writing the same script somehow, and ideas just form from there. You got the Western comedy, you got the Western drama, horror, everything coming together. And just overall, it's fun to just work on everything I can.
Why do you like being in a film crew?
Who says I do? Who says I like being in a film crew? No, I don't know. It's not your typical office job. You get to be out shooting new locations, so that can be a lot of fun.
I think my favorite part about working on a film crew is that, so many different people come together who all have a different job on the film set, but at the end of the day, you're all working towards the same goal. You're all working on the same film, and essentially you all want, the same final project to be done. You want a good film, you want quality, you want everything to go smoothly, and that's what I really like most. I think about film crews, that there's that cooperation among them, that kind of camaraderie. It's just it's a really good place to work.
Reasons I like being in a film crew is simply because I feel like we all work as one. We all understand how to do things. We don't even have to speak to each other sometimes. There's moments where I can just do a gesture and they would understand exactly what I'm speaking about. Honestly, we don't even have to point. It's more of like an eye movement where I just look at one person. They know what to do. They know exactly where to go and exactly what to do. And we just all work perfect together.
So why I do this all for? It's not for fame, recognition. It's for respect from her. From her. Dinner, movie, lunch, you name it, for her.
To work on a film crew is a lot of tension. It's a lot of anxiety. You want your finished product out, and you want everything to be perfect, but just so many conflicting people and so many different attitudes and opinions on everything. It can be a mess unless everybody's got a coherent, consistent vision. You've got to really take, to kind of be a leader for everybody. You got to be in the trenches. You got to be in the trenches and taking hold, or else everybody will get disillusioned. Just nonsense.
I think in the young filmmaking culture, there's a sort of kind of a guerrilla filmmaking attitude that everyone sort of possesses when they're making films. It's kind of an impromptu, spontaneous, let's shoot, let's do something, let's find creative ways to go around problems. And I always think that's something really unique about the culture.
The language on a film set, it's vulgar at times. You have a lot of people cursing, yelling, talking about their private parts occasionally. I don't judge. But when it comes to work, everybody curses the shit out of everything.
What's the language like on a film set? Generally professional, but there are, as I'm sure TMZ has made you aware, there are definitely the occasional outbursts and rants.
The language on a film set is, there's a lot of technical jargon. A lot of people, especially like the DP, which is director of photography, or the cinematographer, they'll constantly saying with the director back and forth about shutter speed, aperture, things like that. As well as the grips, the gaffers, everyone's working together, and there's a lot of language gets thrown around. There's also a lot of slang between people who are kind of have been friends and working a while on the film set, so you get a mix of everything.
People on a film set, they're kind of competitive, depending on how many people there are. Mostly cooperative, I found, but so I guess it's a little bit of both. There's the competitively cooperative people, there's people that are too cooperative, so you think they have ulterior motives, probably to sabotage you.
The film industry has just gotten too competitive these days. There's too many producers all over your ass. The directors are all up and down. You don't understand what anybody else is doing. The screenwriters run out of ideas, just recycling shit from the 70s and 80s. It's complete bullshit, but it's a very competitive market. You got extras stabbing each other in between trailers and stuff, and between sets, and hobos sneaking on sets trying to pretend to be extras, and the stuntmen trying to upstage the actors. You don't even know what's gonna happen day to day.
How do people deal with their problems on a film set? I would say poorly. There's way too much drama on sets most of the time because everybody has an opinion, even if their opinion isn't wanted.
Problems on a film set, when they do come up, they are kind of dealt at first aggressively, especially when you've been at it for a while, like that day, and everyone's tired and hungry and probably cold. But once the level-headed person steps in, it's kind of peaceful. Well, eventually. But unless you get the really cooperative people, because then it's just all peaceful all the way, and that's really nice.
No, I don't think the power distance at all. Like, it's a retarded concept. Like, they shouldn't be questioning the director's authority. The director is the main person in control. Like, if he has to make an actor's cry to get a scene, that's what he has to do. Like, you gotta do what you gotta do. You gotta get that scene. Like, you gotta take 100 takes, take 100 takes. Screw you guys, fuck the union. We gotta get this shit done.
The difference between a motion picture film and an independent film is one thing: money. You see, in those motion picture films, they have $140 million invested in actors, sets, locations, special effects that don't even look good, actors that can't act, they can't do anything, all they do is look pretty. We know Channing Tatum, you're hot, we got it, blah blah blah, move on. But, you know, what separates the independent scene is that you can have the greatest actor in the world who will work for free because he just needs something for that Screen Actors Guild. And, you know, it'll be a lot better of a performance because it's more truthful. Like when it comes to the script writing. In an independent, it's one script writer, they'll collaborate, that's it. Script's the script. Motion picture, you have the one writer, he hands it off to the company gives it to 6 writers. Director writes it, producer writes it, actor writes it, the girlfriend of the actor writes it. And in the end, it's just all money. You know, us independent filmmakers, we give the money to the main studio somehow by watching their movies in theaters. And after all that, all the money we give them by buying their popcorn, their soda, their tickets, their DVDs, they invest it in another crappy film and repeat the process until every little film is done. And yet, our independent movies are 10 times bigger with only 1/3 the crowd.
I personally think that the Hollywood industry, it's like other industries where they're focused mostly on capitalism and money, and it's kind of bullshit because a lot of creativity I think gets hindered because there's such a focus on box office and profits, and it kind of sucks because the independent film scene has a lot of creativity, and it's, you know, there's actually a lot of talent there, but they don't have the funding to do as much as they should really be doing. And then Hollywood's vice versa, where you might not really get the most creative person, but they have the money, you know, maybe they come from, you know, young money, like rich blood, and then, you know, they move up on this, you know, this social hierarchy essentially much higher than an independent filmmaker would, especially when it comes to distribution costs, because when a film's getting distributed, you know, that determines your audience and how well you can market it and use social networking. And you can't market your film, essentially you have no film, so no one's going to see it.
I don't really like the Hollywood industry. I think it's all about the younger filmmakers.
What is the difference between independent films and major motion pictures? Well, these days I think that line's starting to get blurred, especially in the past 10 years. Advances in technology have really made it possible for people to start producing quality films at a much smaller budget.
I think it sucks. I think Hollywood sucks. It sucks a lot of shit.
Well,
A lot of shit.
what do you think about, like, independent film?
They're better. Art house films are a lot better. They've got weird stuff happening. I like the weird stuff.
I think the business of the major studios is constantly in a constant state of degradation. I think Hollywood is producing worse films by the year. They're relying on gimmicks and technology, and I don't think we've seen a good film in quite some time, with a few exceptions. But I think in general the major studios need to do some serious thinking about what they're doing. I don't plan on being in this industry for long. This is an in-between point.
The stereotypical filmmaker is going to look like this. He's going to have a cigarette behind one ear. Hat's going to be backwards. He's going to just sit around like this. Mostly in New York, they assume we all do, hey, you know, we're going to film here. It's like a Mario Luigi production. No, it's all bullshit. Shit, my cigarette.
Alright, I find that it's kind of hard to identify a stranger involved in filmmaking because the subculture of everyone is a little different depending on where you're from. I mean, the Long Island people tend to be kind of laid back and you don't like spot them as easily. But if you're in like New York City or in Brooklyn or in the Bronx, like it's a bit easier because they're all, I guess, a little fancy and artsy and all that with their subculture. It just plays out depending on where you're from, I guess. You know.
There are stereotypes involved in the filmmaking industry. Mostly it comes because, you know, filmmaking is considered an art. So, you know, you get this stereotypical, you know, art student, you know, that hipster, that, you know, that student that probably goes to NYU and like is all about film and is like considered like a movie buff who, you know, just constantly making movie references and like, you know, will like worship The Godfather or something. And I think it's like most of them aren't really that true. I mean, there are a lot of different type of filmmakers. You're not just making fiction, you know, there's documentary, there's so many genres that I think that's really a stereotype, to be honest. That, you know, everyone is just straight focused on art. Because I've met filmmakers who aren't really in it for anything creative. They just want to document something, and they're more like the journalistic type. Whereas I'm more like creativity, you know, I want to actually tell a story.
Filmmakers are a tough breed. They're hard to identify. Like, they tend to have beady eyes, so they wear sunglasses a lot. It's hard to kind of catch them off guard.
We're just, you know, go out there, we film, we don't act a certain way, we don't dress a certain way, we don't talk a certain way. Everyone thinks we wear those little fucking barrettes. No. We don't have giant fancy marker boards or chalkboards to go action, cut. No. We have paper, we have a pencil, we have a camera. It doesn't have to be a video camera, it's just sometimes a photography camera. And we just film things. For the most embarrassing moment, it had to be the last movie I was working on. I had a scene where I had to pee everywhere. And the cameraman took the camera, put it under my pants, and looked up. So literally I had to kick the camera around just to hopefully destroy the tape.
You start.
Let
Let me shut up. All right, I got this. Shut up. Move over. So we went on a kind of not, what was it? Like an abandoned, not abandoned, but
an abandoned location for a camera set.
all right. And we weren't supposed to be there, so we were all sneaky. Yet when we saw the set and the environment, we got so hyped that we just started running,
Pretty much.
and yelling.
Running, yelling, and looking at each other without
And
noticing the
There was a chain.
obstacles.
There was a chain on the floor. Out of
Wait,
all the
first, before you even start with
non-security-
that, while we jumped into the abandoned area, we were actually talking about how there's no security and how easy it is for us to just jump over a simple fence. And there was actually barbed wires on it, and we found a way to go around that. When we jumped over it, we're like, that's easy, you know, there's nothing for us to just, there's no security in this place, and it's so nice looking, you know?
And that's when we started running.
And ironically, while we started running towards the location, there was a chain, like,
Just a
little area, I guess.
little chain.
A little chain thing to block something, I guess. We're looking at each other at the moment, and we just fell down, flattered our faces.
Looking at the world,
Pretty
the
much.
environment,
Yeah, and we were just looking at the distance.
yelling,
and,
and just dropped.
and midway while falling, we just looked at each other's eyes, all scared.